Welcome to the Little Legs podcast, a safe place to talk about all things parenting. And today we have a special guest, Emma from Baby Sensory in Mansfield, who I'm really excited to speak to. Known Emma for a very long time, actually. So thank you for coming on. And yeah, welcome. Tell me all about you, Emma.
Thanks for having me. I can't even remember when we met. Did it come to some beanie?
I'm sure I was in Sherwood.
Sherwood, I think. Yeah.
Very early days, yeah.
Very early days, and now he's 9.
So what's your family dynamic?
I have 2 boys. They are 13 and 9. We're here in Nottingham with my husband and our dog, who might make an appearance at some point. She likes to go in and out the door. Yeah, and we've been here for about 10 years because we're not actually from this area. Neither of us work in the area, but we live here.
Did you have your children while you've been here?
Yeah, so we moved here with our eldest Dexter, and since then we've had Felix. It's such a lovely area for us to live in. They're obviously well established in school, but then just circumstances changed in that my husband's job changed. So he actually works in Manchester, and then I was still teaching over in Mansfield at the time in my previous life, and then I had taken on Baby Sensory over there as well. We're a little bit nomads, live here for no reason, but it's a lovely place to be.
Nomads, I love that. So where were you when you had Dexter?
We were in Mansfield then. We'd been abroad, my husband and I. I was teaching over in Japan and he came too. And then we moved back to the UK and got married and then lifed. And then Dexter came along while we were there, and then we decided to sort of come and live over in Nottingham.
Yeah.
So my husband's job was here, and then that all changed very quickly. And we're still here.
Yeah. Like nomads. So you have a difference. So 13 and 9. Has there been any specific differences for you in pregnancies, your experiences in early motherhood?
I think for me, the main difference was just my approach to it. Before both boys, actually, I did have a miscarriage. Before I had my eldest, I had a missed miscarriage. So I had to go in and have, unfortunately, the surgery. I then got pregnant with Dexter very quickly, which I'm very grateful for. I know a lot of people, so many struggles. I hear so many things in classes and things, but we're very lucky. We got pregnant very quickly, but I had a lot of bleeding. And so the stress of just being pregnant meant I didn't enjoy it at all.
Wow.
Because I was just so worried about him and about, will it happen again? Is this ever going to happen for us? So that then eventually he arrived. I don't think I believed that it was still true. A lot of stress.
That's a long time to have so much anxiety.
But I am not unique in that. Unfortunately, it's more common than it isn't. So then when we were trying for another baby, it did happen again. This time it was a miscarriage that just happened. But then I'd still got the flashbacks of before. But then I had a very, I guess, textbook pregnancy with my youngest, and I tried to enjoy it as much as I can, but how much can you enjoy a pregnancy when you've got a 4-year-old?
Yeah.
So there was that dynamics as well. I think I couldn't concentrate on myself as much, and it probably was for the best, really, because any little twinge I would have been panicked before. But I couldn't really concentrate on myself because I'd got, he was 3, a 3-year-old to wrangle at the time. But that loss of hope, I think, is the thing that resonates probably with a lot of people. And just all the feelings, and then just to be feeling so lucky that we got what we wanted, and a lot of people don't get that in the end. So
can I just mention a missed miscarriage? How did you know?
Well, I went for my 12-week scan, and at the scan they said, well, there's no heartbeat and it looks like no growth. I think it was from about 8 weeks. Your body hasn't naturally processed the marriage. And so obviously amazing team, give you options as to how you want to proceed. And it was either allow things to happen naturally, but there's no time frame on that at all, or any idea about the pain or any physical issues, but also the emotional and the mental turmoil of it. And then the other option was next day surgery. So for me, the decision was straight away, if it's not happening, let's try and move past it.
This is an element of control there, you as well.
Yeah, I think there was that. It's like, okay, I know that this is going to happen this next day. I can then sort of in my mind start processing the grief of it. Whereas the idea of it happening for potentially a long time and not knowing if it was over, or for me, it was being able to have that choice was fantastic. I know obviously the second time around, I didn't have the choice and a lot of people don't, but I was in hindsight grateful that it could happen quickly and
Yeah.
then we could think about trying again.
What support were you offered? Was there support?
Absolutely. We were over in Mansfield then, so the team at Kingsmill were just phenomenal. Unfortunately, I'm sure that this is a conversation they have most days with people. And then they have a separate area for you to have that discussion. There was no time pressure. There was no pressure on us to make any decisions. Just a lot of kindness to say how busy everybody is and how much, I'm sure, strain is put on the NHS. It felt like we were given all the time we needed, and from people that really care and very compassionate about what we're going through, even though they probably see it all the time. It's probably quite mundane, not mundane, but every day to them.
Yeah.
They didn't make us feel that way.
You were treated like exactly how
it needed to be. So if you are going to go through something like that, at least it was the best way it could be done.
Yeah. How common do you think that is from all the classes that you've run over the 12 years?
It's not necessarily something we go into loads of detail, but when we have a play break and we're talking, we inevitably come round to discussions about that, and we probably know more about people's bits and bobs than we do about their names or what they do for a living. But I've heard some wonderful things and I've heard some not so wonderful things. And I would say on the most, people do have a compassionate story to tell. Not always the same case for follow-ups, or I hear a lot more about once babies are born, not necessarily being supported with any issues that they have or worries that they have with their babies or their own bodies afterwards. Stories about maybe not feeling heard by doctors or midwives or health visitors with concerns for their children. That's really hard to hear, but doing what we do, it isn't my place to give any kind of medical advice. All I can do is just listen, and or any sort of support that I can, or signpost to any other local places that could potentially help people. I think it's tricky because Mansfield doesn't have a great reputation, I don't think, as a town overall, but it is very well supported, I have to say. We do still have a very strong family hub team. Obviously, the hospital is a large part of that town, so there are a lot of people that work in the hospital that come to classes and are very knowledgeable about support that is available and are very willing to share that with other people in the class too. So yes, we hear not so good things, but I'd say majoritively we get some positive feedback.
Yeah. Do you think that in itself helped you to process and be able to, I guess, look forward to trying again?
I think absolutely. I do think so. I guess more of it personally, I sort of was a bit like, right, let's go. Let's move on. I'm not much of a dweller, I suppose. But yeah, it's a long time ago now. My perimenopausal brain is trying to remember. But yeah, I think the fact that we were given so much compassion meant that we had the space to sort of process those feelings very quickly. Like I said, luckily for us, we got pregnant again very soon afterwards, and that helped. But it was that in itself became quite stressful.
Yeah, I was going to ask, where was the support for you there? Were you given lots of support?
No, not something that I remember. I mean, I don't think I got any specific support.
Okay.
The midwives that I saw once I was pregnant were very supportive. I had a lot of bleeding with my eldest whilst being pregnant, and obviously having experienced the miscarriage was very stressful. Then everyone I encountered was it's very common, everything's fine, let's check the heartbeat. So very supportive from that point of view, but I don't think any more so. Maybe it would have been nice to have had something who had been through it already. Acknowledgement that
what you were going through,
extra layer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The whole being heard, and yes, you're reassuring me, but I need extra reassurance because this has happened and this is hard for me. Yeah.
I think we're very conditioned as women, having now coming out through the other side of this and sort of going towards the menopause era of our lives. I've been discussing this with people. It's like we're very good at dismissing our thoughts or feelings or emotions, or even like knowing our own bodies, knowing that maybe that something isn't right, or knowing that we perhaps need a bit more reassurance than we're given, but thinking, well, they're just going to say it'll be fine. this is just because I'm tired, or it's just because I've worked too hard, or it's just because, and I think particularly as women, we do that all the time, and I
Yeah.
hear it all the time from
Oh, absolutely.
friends, family, and obviously parents in our classes when it comes to themselves.
Yes.
Not for our
Oh,
babies,
yeah.
for our babies, but ourselves.
I agree. I think we're the last on the list, especially as mums, because I guess there's a tendency to think as well that we're going to be dismissed as being awkward or
just making a fuss.
Sorry, yes, menopausal brain myself. Like, well, you're a mum, of course you're tired. And it's like, this isn't just tired. Well, okay, yes, it's me. Very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I guess for you, you were told the bleeding's normal and you were like, okay, I'll listen to you because...
Yeah, and it was, but maybe a little bit of an extra layer of, I understand why you're concerned about it. I understand why this might be. I know that there are, is it the Kicks Count charity, do issue stickers that you can have put in your notes if you've had a loss before.
Wow.
Because obviously you're not always seeing the same people when you go. And some people don't want to have to say over and over again, oh, this has happened. I don't mind talking about it at all because I think it's important and I'm happy to do so. But for some people, quite within their rights, don't want to talk about it over and over again, but perhaps need it acknowledged. So having something in our medical notes very clearly see this has happened previously could then maybe explain why we're making a fuss.
I think it's like a medical bracelet though, isn't it? There's no question around that. I think that's genius, actually. So you had Dexter in Mansfield. You'd gone through all of the anxiety, the bleeding obviously still treated as a normal pregnancy, whereas you needed more context for that. Did it impact your relationship with Dexter at all, or how you felt when he was born? What happened there?
I was just so stressed all the time and so worried. Every time I go to the toilet, it was like, it was just a worry. So that then when he finally arrived, I think I was hoping the worry will be over now. Like, I don't need to worry. He's here, he's safe, he's healthy. But then the worry is just constant. I think I just thought, I don't think I believed that he was here, or that after what we'd been through, that he was going to stick around maybe. I didn't really go to that darker place, but it certainly took me a while to sort of be like, he's here and he's fine and he's yours and I've got to look after him forever. I think it took a little while just for my head to get around to that. And it's hard because you're obviously just experiencing it yourself. My husband was brilliant and he was also, I had a loss, but I don't think it's not physically the same, obviously, and it's not mentally the same. So it's hard to sort of have that conversation sometimes and be like, I don't know if you understand exactly what I'm going through, or if I'm being, again, back to what we were saying before, am I being over the top or making a big deal of something, or that it shouldn't be. But there are feelings. You can't dismiss your feelings. That's what they are. So
as much as we try to in the moment. So did you go to baby classes? Did you have anyone that were like mum friends that you could lean into?
That helped massively. It was a time when I probably went to a different class every day with him. We made some friends at NCT. I was lucky in that my sister and my sister-in-law, we all had babies within 6 weeks of each other. Which was lovely. But we live in completely different places, countries even. But it was still nice that we were going through things at a similar time. So as support systems go, I was very lucky. It was nice to have groups around that I could go to. And sometimes you just wanted to talk. Sometimes you just wanted to be quiet and you'd not slept all night. So it was nice to have people around who understood and would do the exact same thing. Or, oh look, he had sort of little white spots on his forehead, for example. I think I would have been in the doctors every day, but you could go, oh look, he's got this, and then the other person could go, oh no, my baby had that too last week. It just clears up. Or, oh no, that doesn't look quite right, so maybe you do need to have it looked at. So having just those sounding boards of what was normal, when no idea what normal is, was really important. And obviously I'm going to say that as a class leader now.
But I think, would you have become a class leader had you not had that experience?
No, absolutely not.
Exactly.
And the fact that I had those examples of how it helped me as a mum, as a person, then to see the value in it, not just from this is lovely, this is a lovely thing to do, but actually from a parent point of view, like, oh no, actually, yes, it is lovely for the babies. Yes, it is lovely giving me some ideas to do at home. But actually being around other people, having those sounding boards really helped. And obviously, I think nothing really hammered that home as much as COVID. When we didn't have that opportunity as much. We tried what we could do, but you don't have that. I think it made you realise that actually those are so important and probably not talked about as much or highlighted, as it can make the difference between some serious mental health problems with people. Just having that, maybe people don't have any other support around. So
I agree. I was just going to say, it's validation from other people that it's okay that you're not, and everything isn't perfect for everybody. And the mum that comes in all harassed and flustered, and you're just a bit like, you don't judge, you go, oh God. And I think that's validation. I think that's what classes offer. Absolutely.
Yeah. If your only sounding board has been maybe your own mum that had a baby 30 years ago when things were very different, or things that you're seeing on social media that you're not seeing the behind the scenes of, I think those are the kinds of things that classes can really support with. But again, it comes back to, as women, we're not thinking, I'm going to go to this class for me. I'm going to this class for my baby. So on the outset, you're thinking, oh, that doesn't matter because what matters is my baby. Actually, what matters is you as a parent or carer of these small people. You lose so much of yourself, and you're then responsible for raising another human being others know how to do. In second, third, 10th time down the line, still don't know how to do it because they're all completely different. So then having people that are sort of at the same time as you, at the same point developmentally or at the same point age-wise, it's really important.
It's the support for the highs as well, isn't it? Because if you're not at that same point, when maybe they roll over or they start to crawl, and you get as much excitement from those around you. And I remember one class, tiny talk actually, that was the class I was at, and Amy stood up and took a step, and I squealed that loudly. Everyone started clapping. She started crying and then didn't do it again for the So it was just it was like, oh, it was amazing. Everyone was like, oh, wow. And it was just a room erupted in, well, not for her. She was like, what has happened here? This is horrendous. But just having the celebrations as well.
And even little flashes that I see looking around, you'll see like one mum clacking another baby, doing like a little wave or something. They're like, just waved. Or like, because we're not always looking at our own baby all the time, so it's like them sort of saying, and because you're seeing the same people week on week, I get to see a massive difference in them each time they come, and it's just so lovely. You get to see them go from this tiny little thing to a big thing, and it's lovely.
I saw a little girl called Rose, and I used to teach them beanie in her nursery, and she literally would sit on my hip the whole session. And the nursery staff were like, you okay? And I was like, absolutely, this is where she sits during this lesson. And I got to know her parents and her sister as well. And her dad used to bring her to Zumbini on a Friday. Oh, and grandma came one week. It was brilliant. And she's at school now. And she's, oh my God, she's playing football. And I just look thinking, I see like pictures of her, and I just think, she's sat on my hip. Oh, look at her. It's amazing.
It's 12 years now. So my first class are in high school, and I still think about them because you're talking to people and you're getting to know people, and then I'm like, oh, I wonder how their mum is, I wonder how they're getting on at school, and I wonder if they managed to do that course that they were talking about doing. And it just pops up in my head every now and then. I'll get messages from people that used to come to classes, and it's so lush. I have my own venue in Mansfield, so when I was getting it decorated and stuff, there's lots of blank walls. So I put a message out on my socials and just said, if anyone's got any photos of babies, I'd like to do like just a little gallery of anyone that came to classes and enjoyed it. I got over 400 pictures from the very beginning of starting Baby Sensory Mansfield, from toddler sense all the way up to like sort of more recent ones. And it honestly, such a joy. I need to print more out, but I just sort of walk past them and you want.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
How lucky we are. What a pleasure we get to sort of be part of some small people's life. They won't remember us. I know they're not going to. I mean, some of them that are a little bit older that have come to toddler sense now, maybe I've seen them at like their siblings' parties or something. So many messages of people like, oh, we met at your group and we still meet, and our kids meet up, or they're going for a coffee after. Perhaps a couple of people come together in a class, but then they'll say, we're going to go for a coffee after. Does anyone else want to come along? That's what happened with me at some groups. Expand your circle, and then you still get to see Facebook friends maybe follow along with their lives and see what's happening.
So you started Baby Sensory with Dexter.
So I used to teach English to speakers of other languages. So I was teaching adults at the time, and obviously went on maternity leave, came back full time, and just priorities changed. I loved what I did. I loved my students. That's what I loved. Did not love the paperwork and all the other stuff that comes with working for the government, essentially. Funding difficulties, specifically because of the types of students that we had in the area that we were living in. It's not the most supportive of non-native speakers, let's say, but actually just the most wonderful people. And I miss the students so much. But the priorities changed. I didn't have the passion for it that I could then ignore the stuff that was keeping me away from my son. Like, I'm choosing to do this instead of spending time with him.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately, when you boiled it down to, that's what it is. I had done some baby sensory classes in Nottingham with Nicola, with him, early days. And then I'd just inquired. I was just looking for other opportunities, basically. But I didn't feel confident enough in my skill level to go out on my own, because obviously I was coming from a teaching background, but I was teaching adults. So in my head, babies is just like, no, completely different thing. Whereas obviously I am teaching the adults. So it actually is a similar thing. So I just inquired. It's obviously a franchise that became available. There was nothing in that area at all. In fact, there was hardly any baby classes that weren't a sort of, well, it was Sure Start at the time, or there was an NCT run class there. But there weren't that many classes in Mansfield at the time. So it took me a long time, I think over 9 months maybe, of researching and really sort of looking at the finances and thinking about it. And then just the opportunity to be able to spend more time with Dexter really was what sold it. So I bought into the franchise. I went part-time at the college. I ended up then eventually going full-time into Baby Sensory. And yeah, a roller coaster it has been. But here we are, 12 years later. I thought I would just do it for a little while whilst Dex got him ready for school or whatever. And then obviously Felix came along. So he came to every class in my tum-tum for a long time. And then I was setting up classes, running classes, packing away with him in a sling. Or my parents, my in-laws, helped look after him while I was running classes. And then, yeah, here we are.
So Felix came along. How did that differ? There's obvious differences for you, but mental health wise, how did you feel?
I think the fact that I just didn't have the time to worry about it. I'd got my own business and worked away during the week. So I've got looking after Dexter as well. We knew we wanted another child. And of course, the worry was there. It was always going to be there. Yeah. Can we handle this again? And I didn't particularly enjoy being pregnant, probably because of the stress. There was the worry, but I also didn't have the time to really think about it so much. So Dexter was already 3 before we even thought about trying again. And then we're lucky that we got pregnant. Then I had a miscarriage. I went to the GP to explain my concern that I think this has happened, because you don't really actually know. And obviously I had bleeding.
I was just going to say.
So then I was like, well, is it not? And you question it again. The GP that I saw, a completely different GP, because we're now living in Nottingham, and not that it should matter, but it does matter. But this was a male GP, was absolutely amazing. Listened, like, completely took on board all of my concerns, booked me in for a scan straight. I think it was even the same day, just to make sure that everything was safe and clear and okay. So again, a completely different system, but was just as supportive, really. And not once was I made to feel like I was making too big a deal of it. And obviously we wanted to discuss the fact that I had a miscarriage before, but unfortunately there's just not enough research at all about why it happens. The fact that it's common doesn't necessarily, he's like, I know it doesn't help. So he was very understanding. I might just have been lucky, but I know that there are people that don't feel that level of support, but I did. And it was what I needed to hear, that I was being heard and I was being checked and making sure that we were ready to try again. So again, tried again, and luckily enough got pregnant again. And on paper, a completely textbook pregnancy. The nausea was next level, but I think that was down to being obviously pregnant, but also running a business, having a toddler, not being able to rest like you can when maybe the first time around. But actually, no complications at all. Birth was not fun, but I don't think birth ever is fun. I think actually, to start with, the worry was there. But I think over time, I allowed myself to believe that it was going to be okay a lot sooner than I did with Dexter. And again, I put that down to just the circumstances, and having gone through an unsuccessful pregnancy, but also a successful one, led me to believe that it could happen. So I think maybe I let myself believe that a lot sooner than I did with Dexter.
You had more hope.
Yeah, more hope. I think that's it. That's what I talk about with when I brought it up with people before. It's like the loss of hope when you have a miscarriage, I think, is the hardest thing, because nobody can tell you if or when it will happen again for you.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can't help but daydream about and think about. And you're already thinking of names, and everywhere you look, someone's got a pushchair. And then the thought that I've now got to continue my life with all these things happening around me without the one thing that I really hope to have. And there isn't anything I can do about it, because it isn't anything you've done in the first place to stop it from happening. So I think that loss of hope is a really hard thing to get over, because there isn't really a fix-all, a band-aid for it.
What would be your biggest advice for someone in the same situation?
I think it's difficult because everybody has very different circumstances, very different reasonings for wanting to share or not share. I would just advise people to talk. Find somebody that you can talk to. It's not going to solve anything, but I don't think we necessarily need anything solved. I think we just need to let it out and let our feelings be validated. Yes, it happens to 1 in 4 people, or probably even more than that, but it's happening to you. Feelings about it are new to you. Let's just talk about it. And then maybe it's about a loss of hope, or maybe it's about concerns about it happening again. Or if you keep them to yourself, the outcome's not going to be any different. It could just be maybe that you're not feeling so alone with it.
I agree with that. And I actually said this to someone the other day who said to me, I know I'm not going through what you're going through. And I said, wait a minute, if I break my leg, it's still going to hurt if you stub your toe. It doesn't work like that. And I think, again, going back to the point you made about women, we kind of dismiss, well, 1 in 4, this happens to, so it's not just me. But actually, you're allowed to feel very deeply about things. And I think the advice to talk is so important. And the more we talk, the more hopefully we can push to get more answers.
Because actually, the more I talk to people, obviously I've got a massive distance between it now. So I can talk about it very candidly. I probably couldn't at the time so much because it was very emotional. I think I didn't really want people to know that we were trying to have a baby, so that then the questions that come with it, that was the main reason I didn't talk about it then, was because I didn't want the questions that came with it. I'm also not very good at receiving sympathy or empathy, because I'm sure it's a woman's thing. If someone's nice to me, I can't handle it. It makes me sob uncontrollably. A couple of weekends ago, my boys went to scout camp, and it was for 3 nights. And my youngest is not good at sleeping. He's not good at sleeping away. Grew up during COVID, didn't have to go anywhere else, still struggles to go to sleep. So it was a big deal. And he was so adamant this is something he wanted to do. But the internal struggle of him wanting to go, but also not wanting to go, resulted in a very fractious drop off. Let's just say that he went, and he ended up staying all 3 nights, which was amazing. But it was very hard for him, and obviously for me. And as the mum, you're holding it together. You're like, you're going to be okay. I'll come and get you if I need to. All the reassurance. I don't think I realised quite how tense inside I was until I dropped him off. I was on my way home. I thought, I'm going to treat myself to a Costa drive-through because it's been a bit dramatic. I'm going to go. And for some reason, the girl who was working there gave me my drink for free. And she said, this is on us. And I was like, oh, what? And she said, no, don't worry, it's on us. And I then burst into tears. I said, I can do it. And I then had to pull into the car park so that I could compose myself enough to drive off. But this poor girl did not know what she had done. So Felix came along and he was fine and healthy. And actually, I think I was less stressed or worried in general because I didn't have time to, but also because it was so textbook. And because we'd been through a healthy pregnancy before, it gave me the way to see could be okay.
So you had Felix in COVID?
No, I had him in 2016, but he started school during. So his like formative years of socialization and also understanding like school rules and all of those things hadn't been put in place because he went from nursery to full-time school without any lead in. There was still being, oh, don't mix after school, don't do the play dates, don't do the sleepovers, don't do the mixing in the playground like we would have done before. So yes, that's sort of perhaps impacted more than we thought about. It's taken us a while to see where his uniqueness is down to the fact that he's never had to sit still and he didn't have to wait his turn, didn't have to sort of put his hand up to be listened to. So he's now in year 5 and we only just last year started the process of assessment for ADHD because we'd been saying, well, it was COVID. He didn't have to sit still. He didn't have to put his hand up. And so it's taken that impact for him. It's all gone through school. They started the process this last school year. We've just been a few months ago got approved for assessment. So now it's another 18 months, but school have put some measures in place and we've just begun the parent support group. It's a sort of 6-week course for other parents just to talk through what this all means and how we can support as a family and just looking at what we might be able to do differently, basically.
So you're not sure whether it's the impact of COVID or whether it's ADHD. How do you feel around that?
It certainly didn't help, but we'd sort of raised something with school from the beginning, really. And you try not to, but of course you're going to. You're comparing him to his older brother because you've got no other frame of reference. So it's like, well, he didn't do this at that age. But then you think, well, he hasn't grown up through a global pandemic like his brother.
Yeah.
So then it's like, is it because of this? Is it because he's a summer child? Is it because he's just more energetic? Is it this? Is it that? I think we were asking those questions for a really long time and teaching staff saying, oh, maybe, oh, I'm not sure. And then it wasn't until last year, his teacher, when I said, do you think it's something more so? And she said, yes, maybe. It was almost like a relief that somebody else could see things that we saw. It was, again, a common theme, validating what we were saying. It wasn't like we wanted anything in particular. It was more just how can we support him to show him in the best way that we know he isn't naughty or a bad child. We just know that's his quirks, but as he's getting older it's like, well, other people aren't going to see that. They're just going to see that he can't wait to be asked for an answer. He's just going to shout it out, which in a nurturing environment like a primary school is one thing. Is that going to be quite so understood in a high school situation? So that's why we wanted to start the process. But again, school were very supportive. I think they're seeing a lot more children now than ever before. I think year on year they're seeing more and more children with different needs. I think there's always been things around. You hear like people of my parents or my grandparents' generation, not my actual grandparents, but that are saying, oh, in my day, we didn't have these things. And I'm thinking, yeah, you did. There was just no name to them. So then the question becomes, well, why do we need to put a name to it? Well, because actually he is an amazing kid and I want other people to know that and see past the other parts. So how can we help best get him there and find strategies for him to implement that he is seen in the best way?
Reasonable adjustments to stop him getting into trouble in a society that is conforming to a certain way of behaving, I guess. And it's just them adaptations, isn't it? Needing movement breaks, needing to fidget, need to have something to play with, having instructions given one at a time instead of 5 all in one go. And I think it's great there's a lot more awareness. And I think it's great that the reasons that you're doing this, I think it's so positive.
And honestly, that's all we felt. All we felt about it is positive from everyone that we've spoken to and all of their like support system. It's just such a shame that it's so overloaded, taking so long, so that then people do start to feel negative towards it because they're having to wait 18 months. The support is there, it's just not enough, which is a huge shame. And it might come to the assessment part and actually he doesn't need anything specific, but actually it's opened us up as a family to discuss these things, to talk to his older brother and say, this is why he's getting talked to in a different way than perhaps you did. And he's perhaps seeing it as unfair. but we're like, it's not that. We just need to make sure that the outcome's the same.
Yeah. Oh, the favourites game with your kids, that's going to happen regardless. I'm asked that all the time. Who's your favourite? And I always say Dougie, the dog. So he doesn't ask me that question. I think consistently what I've loved about speaking to you is that you have had very good support from different places. And what I love about that is, like you said, there's some of the negative stories about the NHS, but equally, you've been in a position where you have had fantastic support from different trusts as well. Amazing support networks out there. And even for Felix, now you've got a parenting group that is open. I think the more we talk, the more we find.
There's always the good, and the good outweighs the bad. Doesn't mean that the bad doesn't exist. I understand the privilege that I have such a supportive family and network of friends, but I've always felt like bad things happen and there are negatives, but what positives can we move on with or move from or see in that? And sometimes that takes a lot longer to see, and I would never want to dismiss anyone's feelings or emotions about that. To dwell on the negativity isn't going to help us move on from whatever it is. So I always do try and see the positive side, but also allow space for that process to get there.
The key word that you've mentioned, and I absolutely love it, is hope. Everything you've discussed, it's about hope. And even from the early days of your parenting journey to even now, with heading towards a diagnosis, there's that hope. It's constant hope that you focus on. And you did mention losing that hope was really difficult. You've got a very strong drive to help people lose that.
Exactly. And like I said, I'm in a very privileged position that I have lots of people that can help me with that. But hope is a thing that drives us forwards. You think, okay, this is a bump in the road, but what can we hope for next? What can we look forward to diverting? It doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing again, but we could divert around, and that might lead us to a completely different place than we thought. I loved teaching. I still do love teaching. That's what I've got a degree in. I've got a master's in. I thought that's what I was investing in for my future. But actually, I sort of took a swerve to the left and felt a little bit hopeless in that when people ask you, what do you do for a living? So I say I'm a teacher. Great. When people ask me now, what do you do for a living? I'm like, shakers and pom-poms for a living.
I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
It's very easy just to dismiss what you do because it felt like that was all it was. But clearly it isn't. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's very, you just sort of say, shakers. I've started and continue to run my own successful business. I'm not going to say that to someone when they go, well, what do you do?
Oh, no, I can relate. I never know how to answer the question either. And interestingly, when I was teaching first aid the other day, and I was just asking the job roles and when they'd done first aid before, just to kind of look at the levels, who was on my class, and two people, and I pulled them up on it, and said, oh, I'm just a teaching assistant. And I was like, do you want to say that again without the just? And they were like, oh, I'm a teaching assistant. And I was like, you're not just than anything. I think in our industry, like, I just shake shakers and dance around. Oh, it's mad.
It's taken me a long time to not say that. I mean, my instinct is always just to go to the sort of the comedy side. So I guess for me, it was that, again, about the hope of it was I'd actively stopped doing something that I'd pursued for a long time and worked really hard towards because of the change of circumstances, and it didn't suit us as a family. But then it was like, well, that's my identity, but it isn't my identity. But it's like the loss of drive, the loss of hope. Where do we put that now?
Yeah.
Where does that go? So then it was like, right, okay, that was going this way now, not what I expected it to be. But clearly something that I still love to be doing it this many years later.
So where's your hope now? What do you hope for with your future, with your children, with your business? What's your hope for you?
I hope that they become really rich and famous and then I can just lie on a beach for the rest of the day. I just genuinely just hope that they're happy. Whatever it is that they do, who knows where the things will take. Because clearly, as we've seen, you can start off on one path and end up on a different one. But yeah, whatever it is, as cliche as it is, I just hope that they're happy. They just make lots of money. I think I've stopped trying to think too much about the end goal or the end game because who knows what it's going to be. I'm just enjoying and try to enjoy sort of what's happening now. And again, that was something that I never really, I am quite sort of driven and I always have been, but not sure what towards. So I'm just trying to enjoy what's happening now. But we've obviously got our baby classes and our toddler classes over in Mansfield and started in Nottingham now as well, which is great. But I'm also not getting any younger and got to see if that's working on the old joints now. But yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy the semi-freedom that older children's give me, and was heading towards GCSE levels of fun times. So yeah,
Oh,
who
I
knows?
love that. Who knows? And which way you're going to swerve next? Again, we don't need it to be written for us, do we?
No, we don't, as long as it's in a place of happiness.
But I don't think you're going to be getting your free coffee from Costa again from that girl.
No, I think I've traumatized her freebies. She's like, oh my God, I just make middle-aged women cry in their cars. So I'm just not going to do that again.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'd love to have seen her face. Poor thing.
Be on
Poor
TikTok before we know
you.
it.
But equally, no, saying that in all seriousness, that did make me quite choked because I can empathise with that.
I know you can.
Well, thank you, Emma, so much. It's been amazing because we've gone all sorts of which ways, and it's just wonderful to speak to you. It really is. So thank you.
And thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.